This is Viterbi Voices, the podcast, your chance to hear stories about research, classes, student life, and more directly from our faculty, students, and other members of the engineering community here at the University of Southern California.
This is episode 114 and another installment of This Viterbi Life, featuring Rhea, Daniel, Shintaro, Ging, and Jose, reflecting on their senior capstone projects.
Welcome back into Viterbi Voices. This is episode
114.
114. As usual, I am one of your hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma. I am the Director of Undergraduate Admission here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
And my name is Rhea. I'm a senior studying biomedical engineering here at USC.
Well, you know, it's been a while, Rhea. We've been a little quiet lately, and that's my fault, and I'm sorry about that. We have been engaged in a lot of work, and it's just been... It's been nuts.
It's been a really exciting time, though, right?
Yes. No, it's been
busy but exciting.
It's been a very exciting time, a very busy time, because this is today is April 4th, Thursday, April 4th. So we're releasing this now, and we have so much stuff that has just happened. Like, we've released our admission decisions, so everybody knows whether they've been admitted or not. And it was the most competitive year for admission ever, which was incredibly challenging to get through, especially when we had the most applications that we've ever seen. And it's just been, it's been a rough slog up to this point. But now we're excited because we've got a group of students out there that are admitted and ready to go and want to know more about USC and the Viterbi School and what life is like as an engineering student. And so that's where the podcast, hopefully if people are listening, they can go back through our archive and see 113 other episodes. Listen to 113 other episodes. Well, they'll see them on their screen or on
you
their
can
phone.
watch the bars move.
They'll see them physically to tap on. But there's so many episodes, so I would encourage everyone out there to go back through and check out the playlists that are based on majors and all those different things that are out there. And this particular episode, I think, is going to be pretty cool as well, right? So this is all about senior projects?
Yeah, so I haven't done a Viterbi Life episode in a while. I was really excited to kind of get my hands back in there. But this is about senior capstone projects, which take different forms in different majors.
Define capstone for people.
Yeah, capstone. So actually in BME, we call it senior design project, and that's like kind of an example of what I'll get into in a second. But capstone projects, your senior year, are basically the culmination of all the different classes and courses and material you've learned over the last few years, and you build something or do a project or basically put together this final product that summarizes your entire year, or your entire 4 years as doing some kind of engineering.
Capping off.
Capping it off, yeah, exactly. So we have 10 different big majors at USC and in Viterbi, and all of them have different forms of this capstone. So, for example, in this episode, we interview a CS student, a Chemie student, a BME student, mechanical, and an industrial systems. And all of them have very different forms of this project, from a year-long consulting project like the industrial systems engineers do, and that's with actually an outside company that contacts USC and wants to grab these ISE engineers to work on their smaller projects, to a desktop application or something, which is also kind of a semester-long consulting project that the CS students do. The chemical engineers do something entirely different, where they solve a very difficult chemical engineering problem that requires a bunch of different small deliverables along the way that kind of summarize each of their classes. So there's like a separations component, there's like a materials component, there's like a bunch of different small components across the way. Biomedical engineers like myself, we do a design project where we design a full-fledged medical device from start to finish. And then mechanical engineers do something kind of in the middle, where they have projects and small prompts from external companies, but they also get a little bit of their own liberties with how they want to design and approach and solve that problem. So, and that's just a sampling of what people do.
That's cool. I think this is a fantastic episode. Of people that have recently just been admitted and they haven't listened to the podcast, this is a great introduction to the podcast. We get a lot of questions about, like, what kind of hands-on projects will I be doing? And like, here's a whole episode on some of the biggest projects. And I think it's important to know that this isn't necessarily like every project is different, and every year is different, and also every student's experience is different.
Exactly.
It's not like you have to do the blank project senior year. It's very, in some ways, very free form as far as like solve some sort of large scalable project that that can cap off your different educational processes. And a lot of people say, well, what's the project I'm going to do senior year? I'm like, it changes.
It changes for everyone. It depends on your group. It depends on a lot of different variables. And it really depends on what you want to get out of it, too. Because you get a lot of say in how that project's going to go. Imagine
describing this process to your 8th grade self who was doing the science fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's so similar.
Is it the same idea, but like you're actually doing something that actually works?
It's like
you're not pouring Coke on
you can
on
actually
raw
have the answers to the problems that you're asking as an 8th grader. But it's interesting because, you have the tools at your disposal to actually build very complex solutions to much more complicated problems than you thought of as an 8th grader. Like the project that I did was not something that was even on my radar at all until I got to college, because I learned more about healthcare and what people needed. And then I also learned how I could use different technologies and different tools to actually build something to solve it. So it's cool.
That's awesome. When you were in high school and you were like looking into this big void of college, like, oh my gosh, this big, vast, I don't know what's going to happen. Looking at the point that you're at right now, is this what you had in mind? Is it different? Is it better? Is it like what?
I think it is what I had in mind. I just never realized that I was actually capable of doing it. Like, I think I realized, engineers build circuits, engineers build things, but I never really realized how natural it would come to me at the end of the 4 years. Like, I've been absorbing all this information, I've been doing all these classes, and I've enjoyed it, but then when I am approached with a problem and actually being able to think of like, I can use that, I can use that, I can use that, and draw from the experiences that I've had and have an appropriate solution to it, is something that I never even expected I would be able to do by the end. So it's surpassed a lot of expectations, actually, for myself personally, I think.
Right. This made me think of something entirely different. This week is the 20th anniversary of The Matrix coming out. And this visual that you just were doing with your hands, it made me think of Neo downloading all the capabilities. Like, I know Kung Fu, I know this. And so it's like, have you just had a 4-year-long version of like downloading information that all of a sudden you're now senior year, like, wait a minute, I have all of these capabilities.
It sounds funny, but it's a great metaphor for it, Is
that right?
Kind of,
Like you've unlocked all these achievements and now you have all of these like skills that you can pull
a little less exciting than that, but like I can design a circuit if I need to. It's cool.
Well, awesome. Before we get into the actual episode, I wanted to make sure that we got some programming things out of the way related to admitted students. So if you're an admitted student, we have so many things happening. We've sent so many different emails and pieces of mail out there. I hope you're all checking it out. I want to make sure the priority here is that if you have been admitted, I don't think there's a better thing that you can do than to schedule a visit through one of our admitted student programs. Rhea, what do you think?
We have so many coming up, and they're all so much fun, and they're a really great look into the engineering school. We take you on lab tours, you get to meet faculty, you get to meet students. It's such a good way to actually understand what being an engineer at USC is like.
Absolutely, and so this is an important thing. So we have a lot of ways to visit campus: Explore USC, Preview USC, and then of course our big admitted student day on the weekend. If you have a choice, I would always recommend Explore USC because it's a full day program. Preview USC is a half day program, and then the admitted student day is the one program that we have on a weekend if you're not able to make it during the week. Those all start next week, so they're in capacity. There's a capacity at each one of these programs, so make sure that you're registering for these events well ahead of time and book your travel and get it all set up. Outside of that, if you're not able to make it to campus, we will be in a lot of different geographic areas around the country and around the world. As a matter of fact, tonight, Thursday, April 4th, Matthew O'Bray, our assistant dean, will be in Washington, D.C., or in the D.C. greater area. And so if you are able to swing by that program, please do so. And then this upcoming weekend, we've got programs in Texas. I'll be in Dallas and Houston this weekend. Matthew will continue his East Coast trip up to Boston and New York. We will have, who else is going to be out and around? I think that's really much it this weekend. Then we go into next week where we have Denver, and we have a trip that starts off in the Bay Area. So I'm going to have the Bay Area event on the 13th, which is in San Francisco Bay Area. We'll have Hawaii on the 14th, Chicago on the 14th, Seattle on the 14th.
Wow.
We'll be in Portland on the 15th. We will be in Hong Kong on the 14th. I missed that one. So Hong Kong on the 14th, Portland on the 15th, South Florida on the 16th, Atlanta on the 17th, Beijing I'm sorry, Shanghai on the 16th, Beijing on the 18th, Mumbai on the 20th, New Delhi on the 22nd.
I feel like I'm reading a concert poster for like a world tour.
Oh my God, we should make that.
You should. That'd be so funny.
Oh my God, I want to make that shirt now.
USC Viterbi, the world tour.
World tour.
I would buy it.
Oh my God, I'm going to make that right when we're done here. I've got Illustrator open right now. I'm going to make that when I'm done. And then our admit student day on the 27th. So you have to make a decision by May 1st. That's your deadline for your intent to enroll. And I realize that's a hard decision to make. And we want to make sure that we're helping you in any way possible to help you understand what this place is all about. So that's what we recommend doing. If something doesn't work, give us a call. But honestly, those are the best options because I'm happy to talk to you and answer your questions. But nothing is better than talking to a bunch of people at this place and really getting a sense of whether this is the right fit for you. So make sure you do that. You can make reservations for all those events at your student portal, which is at admission.usc.edu/status. admission.usc.edu/status, and most of you have been there because that's where you got your admission decision. But make your appointments, register for those things ahead of time, and please get that in now because there is capacity at each of these events. Outside of that, if you ever need anything else, please give us a call. Our phone number of our office here is 213-740-4530. Again, that's 213-740-4530. Always happy to help you out, or send us an email at vadmit, VADMIT, at usc.edu, and we will always be able to get back to you as soon as we possibly can. But that was a long intro. Am I forgetting anything else, Rhea?
Nope, I think you covered everything.
Okay, so let's get out of the way and get over to the Senior Design Expo Capstone projects thingy, big hands-on,
Senior
cool
Capstone
stuff. Cool.
One of the questions I think a lot of us get as college students studying engineering involves hands-on projects. People ask, so what's the coolest project you've done? How much hands-on experience will I get as an engineer? Or do you know how to build X, Y, and Z? Growing up, I think the generalization of engineers is that we're people that build things, from bridges to computers to medical technology to financial algorithms. And that's true. We're pretty good at building things. However, a lot of college is spent honing the skills that allow us to conceptualize these kinds of solutions that we can build in the first place. We spend years understanding math, physics, science, chemistry, and more in an effort to figure out how we can truly draw on existing knowledge to create novel solutions. While we do projects along the way, and in most of our courses actually, a lot of them are tailored specifically to be a practical application of knowledge from that course alone, allowing us to get a deep understanding of that specific skill set. But Senior Capstone is a little bit different. Many of us hear about this ominous final test before graduation, the Senior Capstone Project. Designed as a way to cap off 4 years of technical education, the Senior Capstone Project, or Senior Design Project, involves combining a variety of technical knowledge with project management, teamwork, and communication skills. While this project takes many different forms across majors, from developing smart home devices as an electrical engineer, to consulting with local LA companies as an industrial systems engineer, to developing a chemical processing plant as a chemical engineer, to designing and building medical devices as a biomedical engineer, Senior Capstone projects are anywhere between 1 to 2 semesters of intensive, holistic group work. I brought in some senior friends of mine that are all studying different things to discuss their experiences because Senior Capstone is really a stellar example of the kinds of skills that 4 years of an engineering education can actually result in. Let's dive right in.
Yeah, so my name is Shintaro Nishi. I'm a senior studying chemical engineering with a nanotechnology emphasis, and I'm from Irvine, California. And so for the chemical engineering senior design project, we have a first semester where we take a class called Chemi 485, where we learn the programming language that we're going to eventually use to design our processing plant. So we spend a whole semester. I think we have around 7 projects that we need to complete. And 7 projects might not seem like a lot, but during the semester, it's like a lot.
Sounds like a lot.
It really is. So once you make it past through that, then you kind of go into Chemi 480, which is our senior design project. So it's great because this year they switched the format so you can pick your group members. So I've been able to go into a great group of guys, and our group name is actually Camel. So we're a team named Camel. So we've been...
Can we rewind?
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
Okay, to be completely honest, I don't know. I got added into this group kind of late, and they were already the camel, so I'm part of the camel chat, so I'm the newest camel in the camel chat. So
You're the baby camel.
yeah, we're working along with them. So, and then for our senior design project, every group of chemical engineers, I think it's around 6 or 7 within each group, gets a pretty much a design. You pretty much design a polypropylene production plant. And you have to meet a certain specification of molecular weight distributions along with the production per year. So honestly, just with that, you just start researching and then you start developing a process control, or you just start developing a plant, and then you meet with your professor, keep improving, optimize it, and hopefully by the end of the year you have a great plant.
What's polypropylene?
Yeah, so it's like it's a thermoplastic. So if you ever, it's like wide applications in the food industry along with medical applications. So pretty much it's like any, you've heard of polyethylene, polypropylene. It's kind of just like that. It's a different plastic.
Cool. All right.
Cool. I'm Ying. I'm a senior. I'm studying computer science, and I'm from Chandler, Arizona. So I took my senior design capstone class last semester for computer science capstone. It's a 1-semester class, and there's no like homework or exams or anything like that. It's kind of, I guess I would just describe it as like a consulting project, and at the end of the semester you actually deliver the project to your client. And so the way the client matching process kind of works is at the beginning of the semester, our first like real lecture of the semester, we just have an entire list of all the projects that are available. Some of them are like with research labs on campus, some are like nonprofits in LA, or just different companies from around the area that our professor finds. So they have all sorts of different project descriptions. It could be a mobile app or a web app or like doing some sort of machine learning project. So there's a huge variety of projects. My friends and I ended up picking the same project because we wanted to be on the same group. So the way it kind of works is you put your preference for your project, and whoever had that preference, they get assigned to the project. And the projects vary in size because some projects are a little smaller. Some projects might need like 6 or 8 people. So mine was a 4-person project, and I worked with a lot of my friends that I like have taken classes with, and we built a desktop application for a nonprofit in Riverside called the Walden Family Services. So they're like a foster care, adoption, youth care services agency. And a lot of the stuff that they do takes a lot of like manual work in terms of like downloading reports, generating information about all of their different patients and stuff like that. And so we were kind of just helping them automate that because it takes up hours of their time, and they could be spending those hours doing more, like useful things. So we were just kind of writing an application that would make that go by faster for them.
That's so cool. That's
yeah,
super
and
interesting.
The cool part was that we actually had like weekly meetings with like a representative from Walden Family Services. So it was really cool to like go through the whole process of like starting from the very beginning, like what do you want us to build, like what do you need, and kind of just getting all that information from her. And then throughout the semester, like checking in, letting her know our updates. And we actually met her at the end of the semester. She came for our final presentation, and it was just like really cool because she was really excited to see all of the work. She was like, we're definitely going to start using it in the office. So yeah, it was very rewarding, especially because it was a project that was pretty meaningful too.
That's really, really cool. So you talked a little bit about the selection process, like on your end, about how you're ranking projects and stuff. Was it really, like, did a lot of people want the same projects? Did some people get put on projects they didn't necessarily rank? Like, how does that process work?
Yeah, the first class was definitely chaotic, and our professor was like, I'm sorry, guys. like, I don't know a better way to do this. But there are some projects on the list that were definitely, like, popular choices. There were 2 Bitcoin and cryptocurrency projects, so as you might imagine, those were like very popular. But it was kind of like our entire class was there, and it was probably 50 or so people, so it was like open discussion, like, hey, are you guys okay with doing a different project? I already found like 5 people for this project that it would just work out, if everyone just cooperated. So it was a little crazy, but like everyone figured it out. Everyone was like fine with their projects in the end too.
Awesome. Did people ever get put on projects that didn't necessarily match their like skill set, and how did they navigate that?
I think a lot of people actually were on projects that didn't match their skill set. I think that's the interesting thing about the computer science capstone project is it doesn't necessarily build off of our coursework, because our coursework is very fundamental, like theory stuff, like hands-on, like different programming languages and how they work. But for a lot of the projects like mobile development or app development, for us it was a desktop app. That was stuff that we might have done a little bit in class, but unless you've like really gone into it outside of class, you might not have like all of the experience. So I think a lot of people ended up kind of having to like teach themselves a lot of different frameworks and platforms to build their project on, which was cool because it's like stuff that you would see in the industry, not necessarily like a homework assignment that we saw in previous classes. But it was really like the fundamental stuff about knowing how to program was important, but then kind of applying it to different like application frameworks was kind of the goal of Capstone. So I think a lot of people learned a lot of different frameworks, like a lot of the new popular technologies that are out there.
And then Jose, yours was also sort of a consulting project, right?
Right, right. Well, so we similar to Ying's, we had we have a variety of teams my team is 4 people, and we have a variety of companies that are our clients throughout the semester. But ours is actually 2 semesters. So the first semester in the fall of your senior year, usually, you come in, and ours, he actually put like sticky notes where you put your top 3 choices, and everyone's was freaking out, right? But I think most of our companies are like, we have 2 SpaceX teams. My team is Aerospace Corporation. We have DHL, which is a logistics company. We have Chick-fil-A. And then they also work with like some like USC Radio Group, I think, and then kind of nursing pods, things like that. So I'm forgetting some, but those are kind of the gist of it. So they were all pretty big clients, which was a really cool thing, where like no matter what, even if it's not exactly what you're interested in, you're gonna kind of get a feel. And the cool thing about industrial engineers is you're kind of a generalist. I like to have my hands in everything. So I didn't know very much about aerospace coming in, but really you start to dive deep and try to find out what the client needs, and you start to figure it out. Like in ISC, you're getting like a probability background, you're getting an operations side, you're getting a statistics side, and you kind of just pull from that, and you look back at your notebooks or whatever it is, and you try to contribute. And so last semester, the main thing for our client at the Aerospace Corporation was actually getting funding. So he got a certain amount of funding for this neuromorphic algorithm, which is like, ooh, like it sounds cool, but like I was like, oh wow, that's a big word, like almost as big as polypropylene. What is it? But you start to do a little research. You know enough to kind of figure out what they need, and so we actually got funding for it was actually a Movidius chip. It was a neuromorphic algorithm that we got funding for, and so it was a little CubeSat that's going to go up into space. So we got funding for the hardware for it, and so now we're working on the algorithm side and trying to find the best algorithm. So we don't know the CS side of it, but we do know pros and cons. We know how to build a business case. We know how to figure out what the best thing for their needs is going to be. So it's a really, really cool learning experience, and a lot of my friends has actually gotten jobs from being on these various clients, which is cool.
Yeah, because you're interacting with real people.
Yeah, they can kind of see what you know and what you don't know.
Cool. So I'm Aria. I'm a senior studying mechanical engineering. Obviously, I'm a senior. I don't know why I added that. So for aerospace, mechanical, and astronautical engineering, we all have like the same capstone, which is AME 441A. So you can either like work with a company, or a lot of the professors have research projects they give you. So at the beginning, kind of in the middle of summer, we just get this giant like PDF with like, I think there's like 50 or more than that projects on there. And you can either pick one of those. So that's what we did. We picked one of those, or you can make your own. A lot of people, if they're working over the summer and they have a project to work on, they'll bring it in and then they'll work on that for their entire first semester. So that's a general layout. So my group, and we can make our own groups, which is really nice. But my group specifically, we're all very into robotics and aerospace, kind of. So we made a device that flaps a fin, and the fin will be at different radii of curvature, because we wanted to see how asymmetric buckling would change the time average thrust for our fin. This would help with like underwater autonomous vehicles, things like that, just because it would increase its maneuverability if you could control the radius and with that the stiffness of the fin. So for our project, we started out with the ideation process, which was kind of figuring out how we were going to achieve this. how we would even build like a test apparatus to do this. So that was like probably the first like week or two, honestly, because you have from August to December, not even August to November, to like make this entire project and then test it and then write a research paper on it, which is kind of a lot.
Yeah.
But so that was that part, and then we built the entire apparatus using all the knowledge that we learned in our past couple years, which is actually like a really cool feeling, because you're like, wait, the classes that I've taken like aren't for nothing. I'm using all of these right now. Then we did all that, ran all the data analysis. We got like really cool data actually, and then we wrote the paper, and it's super exciting because for senior design for like aerospace, mechanical, and astro engineering, there's a conference that like 4 of the teams out of, I think there's at least 100 teams or something like that. Maybe there's not that many. There's a lot of teams. But 4 of the teams get picked to go to the AIAA student conference for Region 6. This time it's in SLO. And we were one of the teams that got picked. And earlier today we like had to rehearse our presentation and stuff. And this is like stuff.
So exciting.
It was really exciting. But this is stuff that we like haven't thought about since November.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a super rough presentation.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. We have a week to prepare, but we'll be fine.
That's so exciting. So you're leaving next week for it.
Yeah, I'm leaving next Saturday morning. Yeah, I'm excited.
Good luck.
Thank you. We're gonna need it.
I'm sure you guys will kill it. What about you, Daniel? What was your project?
Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm a senior studying biomedical engineering. And as far as the biomedical engineering capstone class, we start the year off by getting placed in teams of anywhere from 4 to 5 people. And there's a lot of freedom and creativity. We're really asked to address any medical challenge that we see in our world. We do research in advance, and then we go into ideation, design and verification, and then validating the prototypes that we've come up with. And we have 3 months to really come up with a tangible device that we've created to solve the issue. And at the end of the year, I think what's really cool is there's the Viterbi Expo, where all of the senior design teams across all the Viterbi majors get to share what they've worked on for the past few months, and we all compete against one another, and there are prizes for the top 3. So. Our senior design team decided to focus on the problem space of improper posture because it affects really straightening ourselves.
Everyone just sat up.
It really affects people of all populations, like ages and demographics. So what we made is a device that monitors your posture, and we used a gyroscope, an accelerometer, an EMG sensor that would track your trapezius muscle, which also tends to get very involved in maintaining a good posture. And we also had a coin motor that would vibrate the device anytime that our algorithm sensed that you were slouching, whether it be left, right, forwards, or backwards. And that was all done with a program called LabVIEW. And we had
LabVIEW.
Oh, man. LabVIEW.
And we had a really nice user interface that displayed to the user what their proper posture is, how frequently they were getting out of what we determined to be good posture. There was a calibration procedure, images of what proper posture really looks like. And it collected all of this data that could be used by a medical professional to really determine what the root cause of the issue was. And it was a lot of work, but I think overall it was a very rewarding process. And ultimately, we did have to encase our device in a soap box, which would get placed on your back. And the EMG sensor would also be stuck on your back as well. So we improvised, but I think it turned out really cool in the end.
That's so cool. I feel like I need that in my life. My posture is so bad.
That's why I love the BME projects, because they're so applicable and like very easy to understand. Like Aria's is incredibly technical and super cool. But like when it's like a posture device, I'm like, oh yeah, I can put that on my back.
Exactly. Whereas for like UUVs, like I barely know what that is, and I worked an entire semester on a project on it, you know?
No, that's so cool because you get to go like head first into this really interesting field that does affect a lot of different industries. Do you feel like your coursework and stuff in your major, you mentioned this a little bit already, but do you feel like the coursework that you've taken in your major really helped a lot with this project, or did you feel like you had to learn a lot of new skills on the job, or was it more intangible stuff that you kind of picked up along college that was the most valuable part of this project? What allowed you to succeed?
Yeah, I think for me, I would say probably a lot of the intangible things that we don't necessarily pick up in class were some of the things that we had to learn in Capstone. Like, obviously, we learn how to program as a computer science major.
So.
Yeah. So that's definitely carrying through to Capstone as well. And kind of like thinking about the best way to design a program. Like, we've learned like taken algorithms courses and learned like what the most efficient way to write something is. Like you don't want to like loop over something like 4 times, like stuff like that we would take into consideration because we want the app that we're giving to our client to be like a decent like application that's not super slow to run, like they're not sitting there forever waiting for it to complete. So stuff like that we took from our classes, but like I mentioned, like desktop application development was something that I had never done before. I know someone in my group had taken a class on it, so that was really helpful. But a lot of it was kind of like figuring out how to debug little issues, and I think those are skills that you pick up like along the way, like how to debug problems, how to like figure out like a alternative to something if you're just like hitting a wall. So I think some of those intangible things. And then I think one aspect that I had never really experienced was like communicating with the client, because when you're working on a personal project, you just go however you want to go. But sometimes we would build something and our stakeholder would say like, oh, well, that's not like really what we're looking for. We were imagining it more like this. And so obviously you have to like kind of restructure the project and how that's going to go. So that kind of like interperson communication was very like new, I guess, because a lot of the projects I had been doing were either just like partner projects or like individual projects and stuff like that. And actually having like a stakeholder there who like really needs the project done the way they want it to be done was really interesting.
I think it was a combination of everything you just mentioned. So I guess for our particular device, there was some electrical engineering knowledge that we had to have in terms of building circuits, and that comes in sophomore and junior year of our curriculum. Additionally, intangible skills, I think that's very important, being able to address issues and communicate with each other effectively. And that really helps save time and effort, and people get less frustrated if you're very clear about the issues at hand.
Definitely.
And I guess also the class itself. So the Senior Design Capstone class, I think it gave me a great perspective on what the entire process looks like from coming up with the idea and discovering a problem space that you're passionate about, to then figuring out what is it that you can do tangibly with a certain amount of resources that you have and the time that you have to actually conceive something that's going to help other people. So I think the class did a great job of kind of guiding us through the process, but also giving us that creative flexibility.
Yeah, I would agree with like almost everything, actually pretty much everything, because for ours there was like a lot of it's mostly based on mechatronics, which is a class we take junior year, because there's a lot of report writing, there's a lot of like making sure our mechanical system can be read by our electrical system and then analyze that data in like collect it in LabVIEW and then analyze it in MATLAB. So like all of that stuff we've been doing pretty much every single year since freshman year. But then there's also like, I never thought that I was going to have to use strength of materials ever again after I took it sophomore year, because that was like not my favorite class, and I like mostly yeeted out of there as fast as I could. I just said yeeted out of there.
Aria yeeted out of that class, everyone.
Oh my god.
Immortalized forever.
That was scarring. Anyway, but we had to use that because we had to figure out like where the asymmetric buckling would occur on our fin. So we had to figure out like, okay, well, if you have this long of a beam and you put forces here, here, and here, like where is the stress going to be? So like I haven't done stress analysis in so long, and that was stuff that we had to work with, and a bunch of fluid stuff. So like there's a bunch of stuff from our classes, but I think also because a lot of our classes have projects at the end of them, I don't know if BME is the same way. Okay, yeah, I feel like that's just most of Viterbi curriculum. Yeah. You really learn how to work with a group, and I think that helped a lot for senior design because you were working with the same group for like a semester, you know? So like if there's problems, you need to figure out how to like fix those. You need to know how to like distribute all of the workload and stuff like that. And like if someone's having a hard week, like maybe don't make them run all the data, but then if someone's having a really easy week and they don't run the data, like why not, you know? So small things like that.
Yeah, I think for our design, it's just everything we've learned in the past couple of years all put together, from just simple mass balances from chemistry to separations to understanding how a distillation column works. So eventually our Chemi 480 class I was talking about before, about how to design what we had initially in our minds of just how to produce this plant into a computer program and to run it and have it converge. And that was a huge process. We had a preliminary design report due I think last week and on Friday at noon. So we all stayed up Thursday night from I think 6 p.m. until noon, and we're just working on it, and we're putting together all the knowledge that we've gathered from our classes, but we're also just communicating with each other, trying to understand where people's strengths are and how we can utilize those to kind of section off like, hey, you're going to work on sizing and costing of these extruders, and you're going to work on creating a more efficient distillation column. And I think that's something that I've taken a lot from my other classes of working along with these other students and putting together a final product that we're proud of.
Yeah, your project is really interesting because everyone gets the same problem, right? All the chemies. So how do you guys, or maybe just elaborate a little bit more on how you determine, like, who does what part, if that makes sense? Like, who has the strengths? Do you guys all work on everything together? Or, like, do you partition off certain parts of it to different people that are, like, maybe better at certain parts of the major, I guess?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that's one of the greatest parts of the, what are those? It's like nanotechnology emphasis. There we go. I think that's one of the greatest parts about like the emphases that we as chemical engineers go through. It's so broad. So within my group, I am a nanotechnology emphasis while working along with two other polymers, one material, and we have a person that has a minor in econ. And one of our other team members he's yeah, exactly. Getting real professional here in senior design. But yeah, he's pursuing a PhD in chemistry, which is a little bit different from our chemical engineering background. So his whole process was just, you're going to do the distillation column. And me and along with the other polymers guys, we took on the reactor since it's kind of a big part of the process. And then finally we have the economics background person kind of sizing and costing the whole process itself. So I think that's kind of initially where your passions lie. I think also just time has to do something with it. If we're at a time crunch to get this done, we need 3 guys on the reactor. So that's pretty much how I got put on the reactors. But it's been a great experience working along with other people that are so bright and talented.
That's awesome. I think it's also interesting because you guys got to pick your teams for mechanical. So Aria's team, you guys got to pick who you were working with. But for BME, we get randomly assigned. Right. So how was the team dynamic for you? Was that a challenge or was that... Because I know sometimes it's hard to work with your really good friends.
Yeah. I think I got really, really lucky with my team because we're really good friends, but they're not like my absolute best friends who I would like feel bad saying mean things to. Not that I say mean things to my friends, but like, you know when you like tease your friends and stuff like that, you like feel like if they messed up, you can't really tell them that they did something wrong. We weren't at that level, but also my team was like the 3 of the best people you'll ever meet. So everyone, like, if there was a problem, it never felt like someone had messed up. It felt like, it's okay that it happened, how are we going to fix this, you know? And that was always the dynamic, was never like, oh, someone messed up, like, why would you do this? It was just like, okay, this happened, let's all work together in a very calm fashion where no one's mad at anyone, and we'll all think of something together, which I thought was, like, beautiful. And it worked together.
So healthy.
Yeah, exactly. And it worked together so, like, I completely lucked out with my group. Like, I don't think my senior design experience was so good that when you asked about problems at the beginning, I was like, did we have any? But, like, obviously we did, but, like, I don't know. It was great. Definitely the hardest thing. Yeah. The hardest thing for me, though, at the beginning was for sure, like, overcoming the imposter syndrome because I'm not super engineering-y, as we all know. But the 3 that I worked with, like, one of them is getting her PhD in robotics. The other one is getting his PhD in materials. And the other one's, like, the smartest person I've ever met in my entire life, you know? So it was, like, these 3, like, superstars and then me being, like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I hope I'm good enough for this group. But they, like, never made me feel like I wasn't. And I felt like I contributed pretty strongly because no one gave me bad reviews. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? How was you were talking about how the team aspect was your favorite part. What kind of made that so special to you, given that they were a random group of people? Were they people that you knew or had interacted with before?
So our team was 5 members, and I only really knew one of them kind of well. The other 3 were, I guess, strangers in a way, because I took actually my senior design class as a junior. Just worked out better with my schedule, so I didn't really know the upperclassmen as well as some like the other juniors. But I think coming into it, it was really exciting to learn about what they had accomplished and kind of their strengths. But I do also want to mention that towards the end of this entire process, it does get pretty stressful, especially as you have deadlines coming up. So I'm not going to say that tempers ran short, but it's not like in the beginning where
everything's super great.
Yeah. Like, we have time, we're chill.
Yeah, you can put things off a little bit, and then towards the end, it's really about gritting your teeth and really making sure that you're delivering on what you said you would deliver on at the very beginning of the year. So that was tough. But again, it's a huge learning experience to know how to manage your time and how to utilize everyone to the best of your ability.
That's super, super true. Yeah. If there was anything you guys could change about how your project is run, maybe not necessarily a negative or positive, but like if there was something else you wish you could have gotten a chance to do, or something else you wish was like added on to the problem or something like that.
Yeah, I think when you look at our senior designs versus the other two, we all have the same problem. And as frustrating as that might be for me, sometimes it's kind of, you have to understand that this is like a chemical engineering plan, and there's so much variability within a chemical engineering plan initially that we can't be graded against each other, because at the end of the year we have a best senior design like process. Whoever has the most efficient, the safest, and they win like a little recognition. And to be able to do that across different plants itself, and like when we're producing polypropylene, this has taken us maybe like 8 weeks to figure out just a preliminary design report. And when we created the process itself, we're losing so much money right now. So we're still trying to improve.
Sounds pretty real world to me.
Exactly.
So are you gonna win?
I hope so. Vanessa's going down. We're hoping Vanessa's team's we're gonna beat Vanessa's team. But yeah, we're working hard. I think it's interesting because even though we're seniors and it's at the end of the year, we want to create a product that we're all proud of. And this has been around maybe 10 weeks of our semester already. So I think we'd be cheating ourselves not to put out a good product.
Yeah, I think for me, I kind of wish our capstone was kind of like Jose's, like a 2-semester long capstone project, just because it is like very short, like a semester long to go from start to finish, like having no specs on what the application is going to look like or do or any type of information, to actually having like the full application in the end. We started with our MVP, like the basics of what our client would need, and there were obviously like little features that we thought of along the way that were like, oh, this would be cool, like super efficient for them to have, but we didn't get to implement by the end of the semester, just because it was like we had to focus on those main components first. I think if it was a 2-semester long capstone, we could really dive into like improving it like even more. I think one part that I would have liked to do was kind of have the people at Walden Family Services actually test it out, give feedback on it, and have us improve it based on that. I think that would be super valuable and probably something that you would see more often in industry. But since we were like limited by our time, we didn't really have that kind of like A/B testing going on. But I think that would be a really interesting component. If they did make it 2 semesters long, you would probably have like a much better product than the one we ended up doing in 1 semester.
Definitely. I do think that the stretching it out and having that time to go and visit your client, to go and see, and you know, I think I got really fortunate with the client that I got and with the project that I got, that, you know, he was actually like, hey, like, what are you all interested in, what and how can I match it to our needs? So and there was also a lot of presentations, so that's something that I think the senior design project class really emphasizes. Is we have interim presentations, we have our final presentation in front of our client and our professors, and they film it, right? So our interim presentations are filmed, and then they actually critique our body movements, they critique our eye contact, things like that. And so it's I was like, wow, is this an engineering class? You know, so, but it's really helpful, right? It's been, a lot of those intangible skills are things that you don't really think about until you're looking at yourself on a video, right? And so that is something that's you know, really has helped me, right, to convey an idea, to be able to explain what's going on in my head. And so I really do enjoy that. And it was nice to have that stretched over the next semester too, where like now we're moving on to something different, you know.
That's amazing. Do you feel like, so looking back, given that it's our senior year, we're about to leave, we're about to graduate, when you're thinking about maybe in the context of this capstone, do you feel like you enjoyed your experience in your major and it prepared you for this? Is this what you were expecting when you came into college? And how did, not necessarily just this capstone, but like how did the last 4 years of this major meet your expectations or not? And I'm asking this question because a lot of admitted students are going to be listening to this, because that's our population that's coming in right now. And they want to know what these majors are like. And we're sitting here on the end of our 4 years, and we've experienced all these classes. Did it meet your expectations? Would you change anything?
Do you want to go first?
Sure.
I know it's a loaded question. You're welcome.
No, to be completely honest, I think coming into college, I was extremely intimidated by just engineering as a whole, just because I personally, in my high school, I didn't have any engineering experience, or we didn't have those kind of classes offered, but I did want to challenge myself. However, like reading upperclassmen's blogs and talking to upperclassmen as soon as I got here, and I saw all the cool things they were doing, I was like, I don't know how I could even get to that level. Like, the things you guys are doing are amazing, and it seems as if you need all of these skills to make it happen. But I think something you don't realize is like when you're looking at the final product. So right now, if I'm talking about a posture monitoring device to a prospective student who's looking at applying to USC, although granted we have a lot of amazing applicants, it might seem like, wow, like I don't even know where you would start to do that. But something to realize is the curriculum within your major is really built to get you to that level of proficiency, so you can start thinking about those problems, and not only thinking about them, but being able to come up with some plan that you can act upon to deliver a viable solution. So it's really taking it one step at a time, one semester at a time, and taking your lower division classes seriously, because you need those fundamentals to work on a big project like our senior capstone classes.
Well, I guess in terms of something that I have really liked about my major, I'm like super glad that I was able to find this major and kind of like stick with it, was I think from like a young age, I really liked problem solving. Like, you know, like silly logic puzzles, like person A says that person B is a liar, but if person B says person C is a liar, like who's the actual, like, you know, like,
love those.
yeah, so like those types of problems.
Yeah.
But then
So
when
who is the liar?
yeah, that's for you to figure out. But, you know, when you're looking at colleges and majors, I think for me it was kind of like putting a realistic question, like what can you actually do in industry? Like, it's not going to be problems like that, obviously. But I didn't expect to find that in computer science because, you know, you always think of it like I got to learn how to program, I got to learn how to make like applications, I got to do like very like industry specific things. But I loved my algorithms classes that I had in CS, and we do see those types of problems. Like, I never thought that those types of logic puzzles that you can actually like encapsulate in a programming assignment or just like a different algorithm type. And so it was really fun that we just like have homework, and you would have those problems, and the question would be like, write a proof on like why person C is the actual liar, like stuff like that. So it was really cool to see like stuff that I'm really interested in, but thought it was kind of just like putting behind me, was stuff that actually came up in my curriculum, and it's stuff that like makes you smarter as a computer science major, and that part has just been like mind blowing that I never expected it to show up in my major. So I don't know. I guess like a word of advice is to like never expect something, to like never keep an open mind when you're starting your major, because I definitely didn't think I would find that, but I'm very lucky that I was able to.
Oh, I had no idea what I was getting into when I applied to college in engineering. Like, I just, looking back, it's just kind of funny to me that I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this and that. You know, I switched my major from mechanical like my first semester, but even when I switched to industrial and systems engineering, I didn't know what industrial system engineering like really was, like, or like the layers of it or things like that. So, and I think that's going to be sort of like a ongoing process as I go into my career, things like that. But I worked out that it fit my personality. It gave me a broad exposure. So for someone who doesn't really know exactly what they like, loves problem solving, just like Ying said, but doesn't know exactly what they want to go into, it's a great broad exposure. Some drawbacks to it is like I'm a very like hands-on person, so that, you don't really have like, okay, mechanical engineers, you think of cars, like electrical engineers, you think like circuits, whatever, power, Edison, whatever, and then the computer science, you have something chemical, you have like, I think of Shintaro with his goggles on, mixing probably propylene, and so like BME, like, okay, healthcare, whatever. But with industrial and systems engineering, like I never really knew how to be like, what do we do? And so that was something that I always struggled with. And when I got to my senior design, when I got to see, the wide range of companies, of organizations that we could actually help, and we're actually seeking out these things, then it sort of all made sense. So that design class was like pretty pivotal for me in the beginning of my senior year.
So I think I'm kind of a weird case for this, because I love engineering, but mechanical engineering maybe isn't my passion, because I'm not doing that after I graduate. But I think when I was like a young freshman and I didn't know what anything was and which way was up and all of that, when I picked mechanical engineering, it was definitely like really cool. And I think they set you up very well to be like, okay, you guys don't know anything and that's okay. And you guys are going to accomplish this crazy thing right before you graduate and all of you can do it. And I think like throughout the time here, they definitely like, that became a reality, you know, because I came in freshman year not knowing what CAD was, which apparently is very important for mechanical engineering. It's computer design for our podcasters who are not sure what that is. Or like I had never thought about fluids and stuff like that, and fluids was my favorite class. But it was super cool because our senior design professors have taught us all of our other classes too, for the most part. So my fluids professor was one of our senior design professors. My mech optronics professor was one of my senior design professors. So, like, it definitely sets you up really well for this to be your end goal, and you have, like, I think the only thing that we didn't previously know when we started our senior design project was how to use ANSYS, but one of our teammates, it's like a software. It solves things, so we used it to solve our flapping fin to, like, make a mathematical model to see where asymmetric buckling would occur. I don't know how to use it. This one guy who's in RPL, which is Rocket Lab, he learned in Rocket Lab how to use it and then did all of our ANSYS stuff for us. Yeah, no, he's
teamwork.
A dream.
Nice.
Like, he's also on the sailing team. He's the coolest person. But yeah, I would say that it sets us up really well, and it definitely, like, you're doing the things and you're like, I know how to do these things that I didn't know how to do like a couple years ago, which is crazy.
Yeah, I think for me, I actually asked you and Aria this question yesterday, but if you could go back, like, would you ever change your major? And that's something I've been thinking about a lot. And something that you said of just like hindsight 2020, and it's like, that's exactly what happened. And I think I got pretty lucky with when I chose chemical engineering, I actually applied into like just the general engineering into most schools. But then I like started looking up some statistics, and I realized that the admit rate was like a little bit lower, and I started freaking out. And there's definitely a correlation and not a causation thing. But I started just putting down like different majors. Like I think I applied to biomedical engineering at SLO. I applied to a bunch of chemicals, and when I got in, I was a chemical engineer. And looking back at all the experiences that I've had, like even though in the moment of going through these rough nights of trying to figure out what the heck is going on, I think looking back on all my experiences from just my classwork, and I still love chemistry and I still love math, like those are still my favorite subjects, and to just my internships and my alternative spring break that I went on, and it's just like all these things kind of came together to finally like where I'm at right now. And I think I'm like very happy with where I'm at right now, and I couldn't be more excited. But yeah, I think I don't even know where I'm going with this, to be honest. But I think with all those things, looking back on the chemical engineering experience, I've loved the people that I've surrounded myself with. The work itself is really hard, but it's challenging, and you feel awesome when you finish it. And I couldn't be more grateful for a major like this.
That's awesome. So warm and fuzzy. Wow.
So you guys didn't just Google like best engineering major?
Oh no, I definitely looked up chemical engineering salary and saw like oil like 120, and I was like, okay, I'm going that way.
I like fell into engineering by accident. I didn't think I was going to be engineering at all. I was like aggressively pre-med coming out of high school.
Not just pre-med, aggressively.
Yeah.
No, like aggressively. Like high school Rhea was like, I'm going to be an orthopedic surgeon, and that's literally all that I'm going to do. But
Did you watch Grey's Anatomy?
Yeah.
Aggressively,
Is that why you made your
I sat there and I was like taking notes on it. I am Meredith. No, but like it's so interesting that I think engineering, it's not a stigma necessarily, but I think a lot of people are intimidated by the idea of it. But the skills that you get at the end of the day from an engineering major is amazing. Like you get a skill set that's so diverse, and you're specialists in each of your fields, of course. But you can learn things so quickly, and you can solve problems, and whether that's something like a logic puzzle or a polypropylene.
I don't know what's so funny about polypropylene. Everyone keeps laughing whenever they mention polypropylene.
It's just such a fun word. I love it. It makes me sound you sound so technical when you say polypropylene or anything else you were saying. But like you have the skill set to solve a huge range of problems, and even if you don't know the words, you know the skills. You have the skills to immediately figure out what you need to do to get there, which I think is awesome. So we have a lot of admitted students, I'm assuming, who'll probably be listening to this podcast. So stay where you are, come to USC, stay an engineer. Engineers are amazing.
I guess generally is being able to work with a new set of people. Since in BME our team members were randomly assigned, I think that was an important skill to pick up. Is kind of, again, the time constraint comes into play, is having a short amount of time to get to know these people, and then to then work on a device and kind of utilize each other's knowledge about specific aspects and putting that all together. I think that's a skill that you need regardless of whatever field you go into. You're going to be collaborating with people, and it's going to be very important that you know how to, I guess, manage different personalities and understand, I guess in general, just understand what everyone knows, because that's how you can then delegate tasks and move forward as a team. I think that's a huge skill to have.
Definitely.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say for me, the biggest thing, especially for senior design, would be that, like, realizing that you do have skills and the people on your team also have skills, and, like, you're both needed for this team to work, you know? So, like, believing in yourself, but also remembering that other people, like, went through the same education as you and maybe have outside knowledge that you don't know. So, like, not really, like, taking anyone for granted, you know? I think that was really important. And also, like, staying calm when things go south.
Yeah.
Because you have a group of people who are, like, just as invested as you are, and you're all going to, like, try to fix this problem, you know? So I think just, like, staying calm and, like, keeping an open mind are the two most important things that I've learned.
Are you guys showcasing at the Viterbi Senior Design Expo?
There's a
don't know
lot of
if your
ISC
guys'
projects that
there
will
are.
be there.
Okay.
Like 2. A lot. That's
Two.
true.
I think we get extra credit, so we're doing it.
Oh, yeah, we might do it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll sign up.
There you go.
I guess
Do you guys showcase?
I think we can. Like, we have the option. One interesting thing about my project was because it was, like, foster care adoption, very sensitive information, we actually did have to sign an NDA before we started the project, because we do have access to
A lot of
everyone's information. So, yeah, probably not showcasing that, but it would be cool to see all the different projects.
I don't know. So for AME, we have, like, our own expo at the end of first semester.
Yes.
So we, like, had that, and so we can be in the second one, and our professor really wants us to because we're going to AIAA. I don't know. We have to decide. Are you guys going?
Yeah. Well,
Ooh.
Daniel did his last year.
Oh.
Yeah. But I'm gonna.
Did you guys?
We got 3rd place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were one of the
Nice.
winners.
So you
which is
definitely
so
went.
exciting.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So yeah, we're showcasing ours. I'm really excited to see everyone else's. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. That was so chill. That
Thank
was
you.
fun. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
No, thank you.
And that just about wraps up this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening. I know this was a longer episode. I know I had a really great time putting together this one. It was really fantastic getting a chance to discuss our engineering educations with my close friends. And I hope you got a better understanding of what an engineering student actually does. Senior Capstone sounds intimidating, but if you didn't realize it from this episode, it's often the most rewarding project that we do here at Viterbi, and really reinforces our skills and builds our confidence before we graduate and enter the real world of engineering. If you liked this episode and want to hear more, stick with us. If you're not subscribed yet, please follow us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. I know we've gotten a little bit off our Monday routine, but we'll still be throwing out new episodes weekly. If you're an admitted student, congratulations, and we hope to see you on campus soon. To the rest of our listeners, peace out and fight on.